Welcome everybody. We have a little special guest here, Liefx. We decided to do a little video. I should probably put you on my main screen so it looks like I'm just looking down a little bit. So when I'm looking at your beautiful face, you can't see my beautiful face.
Make me the main attraction.
Oh, of course. So that sucks for you, but I'm just gonna look at Leaf this whole time. Leaf, lots of stuff has happened in the past month. Rostermania has happened. It has come and gone to an extent. I would say we're maybe 75% of the way through. There's still some teams trying to make roster moves.
Couple moves, yeah.
Yeah, but so far, how do you feel about this offseason?
Excited, man. Like, okay, so this has been a really exciting, because we haven't seen a roster move since like what, season 3, season 4.
With this many, you're saying roster?
Yeah,
moves?
like and these big ones too. I mean, like, we're talking right now. Like, this is the first time we've had a cross seas trade. You know, with Drip 8. Like, this is massive. Now we got teams like Dignitas dropping people off the roster. Why are they doing that?
Yeah,
why
the best team in the world. Like, I don't care about the last two events. You're still the best team in the world, like, for the over-encompass in 2018, at least. And Kaydop's gone, and Kronovi's no longer on G2. It's just crazy. But Leaf,
I'm loving it.
I brought you here because I'm just going to ask you 10 questions. Like, we're just going to talk about certain moves and certain things that have happened over these past 2 weekends. You obviously casted with Lawler a bit for the DreamHack qualifiers. I casted a bit of the WSOE qualifiers. A lot has happened, and we're just going to go over what we think so far about all these roster moves. So, my first question for you, Leaf.
Yes.
Is G2 a lock for top 4 North America? That's my first question.
That's a really hard question because, like, from what I've seen,
that's why we're here, man.
No.
We're throwing hard questions at you.
Yeah, I'd say no. To be honest, seeing the rest of the talent pool in NA right now, I mean, there are so many questions. There are so many ifs right now. By pure roster, looking at paper, yes, for sure, right? But I mean, like, Chicago is an insane player, but from what I've seen, they don't have that synergy yet. It's going to take time, but come roll around RLCS, maybe they're gonna, and I should hope by then they're gonna have that synergy worked out and all their problems fixed, right? And that's why it's really cool having all these qualifiers and all these events beforehand, is that they're getting the practice, they're getting the chance to work out those kinks and figure out what needs to be done. So I could probably change my answer
later on, obviously. That's why I'm asking you to do them today. And by the way, it's Monday. This will probably go out on Wednesday. Probably something weird with rosters will happen between that time, so keep that in mind. But
that's true.
Yeah, we'll have to see where G2 goes from here, but I agree with you. Like, I don't think they're a lock for top 4, not necessarily because of G2. Like, I think they will work it out, and they'll become a solid team. The problem is everyone else is also getting better, too. Like, it's not going to be a big 3 in NA where, like, they go 15-2 versus the rest of the team when we're week 4 into the RLCS. There's going to be a lot of weird results, as we've seen so far with qualifiers. Now, qualifiers are a little different because it's like it's been a long off season. Teams are starting to get into it. But I think some of these results are still going to hang on where we could see teams like Ghost make a run at a top 4. We could see EG. Who knows what's going on with them for top 4. It's possible. Like, they've looked a little shaky so far, too. But the only team I think, honestly, that has a lock for NA, and tell me if you agree or disagree, it's probably Cloud9 for top 4. I don't even think NRG is a lock for top 4 in NA right now because of how close everyone is getting.
I would say, okay, Cloud, for sure, I'm agreeing with Cloud9. Like, that's a hands down. I would say, and if I had to pick another one, NRG would be that team.
Oh, of course, but I think they're not there yet. Personally, we haven't seen them in a while, to be fair. So it's hard to tell because we haven't seen them in these qualifiers. But they did have a shaky season last season. They did step up when they needed to. But I feel like if they start shaky again, it could be real trouble for them because one best of 7 versus any of those squads looks pretty scary.
Yeah, that's true. It matters with only single league play in that, right?
And that's again, real quick, if season 7 like is the same format, which we don't know necessarily is true. But if season 7 is the same format, it could be a little questionable for energy.
Yeah, yeah, well, that's true. I think if they have a shaky start, then yeah, you're right. But I think they're going to come in strong, personally.
Okay.
I think Cloud9 NRG should be our. Now I'm not guaranteeing NRG a top 2 spot.
2, yeah, for sure. But you're saying they will make it the World Championship.
I think for sure that we should see them there. But honestly, looking at this, like, I'm looking at all the rosters right now, and I'm seeing so many teams like EG, Ghost, like they're. So many, I want to see Bread do good. You know, like there's
everyone's improving, and then there's a team like Bread who's just like, hey, no roster moves, but we're putting up results so far.
We're still here
for the qualifier, so it's gonna be tough. But okay, so You don't have G2 as a lock. I don't have G2 as a lock for top 4, but it's because NA's just getting competitive at this point. Next question. Here's a little bit of a tricky one, or like one that's a little bit more depressing. Who is to blame for Ghost's 2018 year? Because they had a miserable 2018, and they're looking strong so far through their qualifying process. But for 2018, who do you think is to blame for Ghost's 2018?
That's a tough one because I don't think it lies on one person. I think it lies on a couple decisions because of multiple people. Obviously, I do think, and I've said it I love all these guys.
Of course, yes.
Right?
We love everyone.
Purely talking about their gameplay. I honestly think Zane Jackie was on like his kind of last run as an RLCS player for a few seasons, to be honest. But I think he was kept in because I think Leth and him had good just team connection, like they just as people. But I think that's part of the problem. I think Lethamyr then is to blame for keeping Zane on for too long. And I know that sometimes during gameplay when Zane wouldn't step up, Lethamyr would take over, and now he's kind of ball chasing, he's kind of trying to steamroll himself, and that doesn't work in a team game. So I feel like you can blame the skill of Zane Jackie, but then you can also blame Lethamyr for not changing that, right? So I feel like that combination of things right there was what was to really blame. So now with this the second that I saw Illusion was put onto Ghost Gaming, I'm like, I don't have any issues with that. I actually like that move. I think that is a solid move. What that does is it allows Lethamyr and Memory to move up on offense, do their thing. And Illusion is a very smart player. Like he's been playing with those guys for a long time. That people forget about those players, right? On that roster.
On the Allegiance roster.
Yeah, he's a smart player, right? Like there's a reason he's been at that top for a long time. Never excelling past things because mechanically there are better players, but he's a smart player. And being able to have a smart player like that fill that support role, fill that third man role is very, very important because it allows those other two to make mistakes on offense, which they don't make many of. If you've seen Lethamyr recently,
man, Lethamyr popping off. Memory's been popping off. They both been popping.
So I think that's where it really lies. It was there was a lack of skill in a certain area that wasn't being dealt with.
So I fully agree with you, and I was thinking that you might put most of the blame on Zane Jackie, but I honestly think it might have been more on Lethamyr because of there's always been just conflicts on the roster. Like first it was Classics, and he kind of butted heads with Lethamyr. Then Matt, they had issues with Lethamyr. Like those two kind of butted heads as well. So every single time there was a season where it's like, oh, probably the worst player on their team is Zane Jackie. Now, sure, there's chemistry there, but we could slowly start seeing that, like, he was being surpassed by basically every player throughout the RLCS. And again, Zane Jackie, like, I'm not trying to bash on him too much. He's still a very smart player, but I just think mechanically just kind of fell behind. And I think if Lethamyr maybe wasn't as aggressive, like, I know he's a very, like, aggressive and competitive player, that maybe if those team dynamics were fixed a little bit quicker, that Ghost could have honestly been at the World Championship in 2018, but they missed on both of them. So, like, I think a little bit more blame on Lethamyr. We'll see how this new team goes, but honestly, I don't know who's going to be their third yet. Because, sure, they made it to DreamHack with Illusion, but Arsenal also played extremely well with them when they went for WSOE. They barely lost to G2, and that's in Game 5. And I don't think they should base it on just one result, like just on the DreamHack qualifiers. They're obviously going to play with him for DreamHack now, but I think there's still time because we talk about Illusion. Like, personally, like I would rather see Seabass on that team than Illusion. Like, I think Seabass is slightly better. Now, again, it seems like most of the pros keep trying out more of like Illusion than Seabass. So maybe they've seen more of him in scrims and all that, which we don't get to see. But Arsenal looked really good too. There's a lot of Peep players like Gyro could come in. Like Chrome is looking really good all of a sudden. So there's still time, I think, for Ghost to make that move. But the one thing I think we know for certain now, we weren't completely sure. Like we were saying, Zane's probably fallen behind a little bit. But through 2 tournaments without Zane, it just looks like Ghost is a brand new team where they don't have to rely on, like, all right, Zane, we know mechanically you can't do certain things, so we have to play around that. We've seen them be a little bit more free now with Lethamyr and Memory without Zane Jackie. So who knows who their third is, but I do think for the blame has to fall a little bit more on Lethamyr than Zane Jackie for just maybe clashing heads a little bit too much and not able to make the roster move that's the best for the team at the time.
Yeah, no, I think that's precisely, and you nailed it. It's like they have a bit more freedom now. No matter who they have as their third, they now know that they have a bit more freedom on field. Lethamyr can do what he does without having to worry about compensating that back line.
Yeah. All right, next up we're staying with NA for a little while here. Is Kronovi the right fit for Rogue is my question. So far, they've had 2 qualifiers. Not going too well for them. I'm actually going to open up Liquipedia as well, so I don't get anything wrong here. But I know that they weren't great.
That's the tough thing with Rogue, because you're like thinking, oh, that's Matt and Jacob. No. That's gone now. And Rogue picked up the old FlyQuest.
Yes.
And they removed Prime Thunder. So now
it's going to be really annoying to have to repeat that for like the first 3 times we're going to see this team. It's going to be so annoying. But we'll have to, because everyone's going to be so confused by it. But
yeah,
it's just the
it's
way
going to be very confusing. It's a completely different roster than what Rogue was before. So throw your preconceptions of Rogue out the window right now. Is Kronovi I still think Kronovi's an incredible player. Like, I don't think Kronovi's like fallen off or anything. He had some dips. He's gone back up on the rise again. But honestly, last year, I think he was one of my most improved, in my mind, one of the most improved players. Kronovi's just continuing to show that he's an intelligent guy and knows how to play Rocket League. Even when you think, okay, finally the SARP vets are being thrown out, they're not keeping up anymore. Kronovi's still proving that he can keep up. Now, obviously, he's still got his mistakes or just synergy issues with G2. They obviously thought that he couldn't do it anymore. That wasn't going to work with them, and they pulled Chicago on. But Kronovi fitting in with AJ and Wonder, I think it's going to be good. I mean, I know previous FlyQuest, now Rogue, was saying, Prime Thunder was. They said it nicely, but I think they basically said he was a ball chaser.
Yeah, sort of, sure.
He's fast on the front line, right? And I think Kronovi playing with G2 and being through so much experience and so much reworking on G2, that he is going to be able to fill in a role that will allow AJ and Wonder to do their things. AJ and Wonder are a little less experienced when it comes to RLCS play, whereas Kronovi knows all these other players. He knows how he can adapt himself to this team, and work with them to make sure that he fits in properly. I honestly think if there's anybody that would drop onto another, or like a newer roster to the RLCS, I think Kronovi is one of the best spots for that. Just mentality wise, at least. I think Kronovi is really going to bring a lot to that team when it comes to composure.
So far, real quick, a Rogue finished tied for 7th and tied for 9th at the 2 qualifiers. That means on both cases, they were outside the RLCS top 6 that were playing in those events. So they were looking more like a rival series team for these results, at least. Obviously, it's still early on. My one issue, I think Kronovi might be the best roster move of all the roster moves in North America for this season, just because of what he brings to that team that was much needed, where it's like, all right, he's a veteran. He has that leadership. He's going to play more defense for them. They're not going to give up as many free goals. My one issue is, was Prime the right move? I think that's questionable. I think all 3 of them could have been kicked. And I think Prime has the potential, probably has greater potential, I think, than the other 2. Personally. Yeah. I think mechanically, he's a beast, but just not the smartest player. And I think if Kronovi comes in the team with Prime Thunder, he can kind of mold Prime Thunder and make him one of the best. Maybe more so than Wonder and AJ. I think it would take longer, but I don't know. I think Prime might have slightly more potential than Wonder and AJ based on what we've seen from him so far.
That's a question I want to ask you, though, is bringing a player on, would you rather deal with a player that is smart and doesn't have mechanics, or a player that has mechanics and doesn't make smart decisions?
I would rather have the mechanical player. Obviously, there's gray areas there because, you can have basically the same mechanics or slightly below and be a lot smarter. So, there's that. But if I had to choose one or the other, I want mechanics. I would rather a Prime Thunder than a Zane Jackie.
It's weird because, I almost think the other way. I mean, I feel like mechanics can be taught, whereas to make smart decisions is a lot harder. I mean, a lot of Rocket League comes down to the decision you make in any given moment that can turn the entire tide of a match. And if you're just someone that doesn't make good decisions, I don't know if that's something you can obviously tell people, okay, that was bad in that situation. But if they come into a new situation, are they going to be prone to making bad decisions still?
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, it's more of if you have that support system that Rogue has, where they have Wesker, and then if Kronovi's going to be that leader, they have that support system to try and change a mechanical player that's not as smart to also become smart. but I think to get better mechanically, that's on yourself. And I think some players just kind of plateau at some point. But I think the smart side of Rocket League, at least, I think there is a way that a support system can help you improve that, and you can get help outside of yourself compared to maybe the mechanical side of the things. Because some players are just not going to get better at a certain point. They just can't keep up. But I think everyone can learn how to play in certain rotations and stuff like that. Once again, that might take a while. That might take a full season. Like, it might take 6 months to get Prime up that level. But I think the potential for Prime Thunder might be slightly higher. But honestly, that might just be because he goes for crazy stuff that we've seen so far and can pull it off. When honestly, you don't really need that crazy stuff. And maybe Wonder and AJ can also do it, but it's just not as needed. Like, that move was a little bit questionable to me, that Wonder was the guy making the call. Because I think Wonder could have been on the chopping block as well. So we'll have to see how they go, but I think Kronovi is still a top talent, and I think they can do good things here. But I do think it is definitely a good fit for Rogue to bring in a veteran like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
that's
definitely a solid move for them. I just wonder who should have they replaced. I think that's questionable still.
That's hard. I mean, we're not going to know.
Exactly. We will never know, so that's just the way it is. But we'll base it on how they do, I guess. Like, if they get relegated, we'll blame someone else that's not Kronovi, I guess. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Next question, and Leaf, never again ask me a question, all right, Leaf? I'm asking you the questions, all right?
Oh, okay,
Do
sorry.
not. All right. Is Yukeo the right fit for Dignitas? Now, I think this was one of the boldest roster moves of the entire split or the entire offseason, and it was a very questionable one because, honestly, Dignitas probably could have picked up literally anyone they wanted.
Yeah.
Because they had to buy out Yukeo anyway, I would assume, so they probably could have bought other players out too. So they literally had the pick of the litter, probably. Now, obviously, that's not the case always, but let's pretend that they could have literally picked anyone. Yeah. Was Yukeo the right move?
I'm going to go ahead and say I think the right move would have been to pick up this unknown player called Kaydop. I honestly just don't.
Kaydop left them, all right? Kaydop left them.
I think, obviously, if there are issues with the team when it comes to just the way the players are interacting with each other, then obviously that needs to change. And that I think they had to make a move. I know Kaydop really wants to be, with a French team. Like he's prideful of that, and it makes sense.
To be fair, he left Fairy Peak once. Come on, Kaydop, what's going on here? You leave him, now you want to crawl back to him? He
realizes that he shouldn't have left that relationship. That was the best for him, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would say Yukeo is an incredible player that is still, I think he's still moldable right now. And I think Yukeo is a player that isn't hard set in the way he plays yet. And I think that he's going to be someone that Turbo can work with to say, hey, I need these things from you. And I think Yukeo is going to be able to deliver on that. It might be a little bit rough at the beginning because Yukeo is going to need some time to get into it. Same thing we saw with Flipside. Yukeo took time. Like at the beginning with Flipside, I'm like, oh man, Yukeo looks scared to do anything.
But that was also his first experience too, right? So you got to give him that a little bit. But yeah.
And now he's been to LAN. Like he's been through the ropes now. So Yukeo is no longer a rookie player. He's a veteran of the scene now. Like he's been through it all, and that initial rough period is going to be a lot shorter than you saw with Flipside. Yeah. Because he's got the confidence. Honestly, I think that was the only issue with his initial play with Flipside was the lack of confidence, and you saw it coming through on the field. And we won't see that as much. Maybe a little bit at the beginning because like that's intimidating going to play for Dignitas.
For Dignitas,
right?
Yeah, that's
right.
True.
Like that, there's a lot of pressure to perform right now for him. But so I think a little bit at the beginning we're going to see that. But I do think just kind of circling around on what I've been saying is that I think Yukeo is a good moldable player that will eventually fit very well. Now, is he the best?
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Is he the best pick for this team? That's my question overall. Like, I think Yukeo will be molded, so I'll let you think about it. But I think he will be moldable, but I do think he's a little inconsistent at times, and that's exactly what Dignitas was not before when they had Kaydop. Kaydop's just like, you set me up, I'm going to score this goal 9 times out of 10 with some incredible angles. So
Dig had a perfect formula.
Yeah. Right? For sure.
And it didn't break. Anytime that someone was being inconsistent, they had a formula for that. They had a plan for fallbacks. Like with this, you're right. I think that'd be an issue. I'm going to throw the name Maestro up in the air.
Ooh, okay.
All right. I feel like that could have been a solid pick.
So I'll throw up two names for you. Like, I don't think Maestro's there anymore. Like, so I love Maestro, and I think maybe he's downgraded a bit. It could also be because of the team he's playing on. Who knows? But I do think Maestro deserves at least tryouts for like RLCS teams. Like maybe he had tryouts for Mouse Sports. Who knows? And stuff like that. But we'll see where he goes. But for Dignitas, I have two names. Two names that I would have definitely picked over Yukeo. Mognus and Chaussette. Those two names I would have absolutely picked. Now, who knows if Chaussette would have came? Who knows about Mognus? Like, I think Mognus is on the table, to be fair. Like, I think he was definitely on the table. Yeah. And I think it was probably between Mognus and Yukeo, I would assume. Completely guessing here. But I think Mognus is more of that team player that I think could just fit right into Dignitas. And also he's a very skilled player as well and not really inconsistent generally. So I think Mognus might have been a slight better fit. And Chaussette, I think he's another Frenchman as well. So why not just bring in a new one for Kaydop? Just replace Kaydop, bring in Chaussette. He's like maybe 1/3 the size of Kaydop because Kaydop is swole as fuck.
Kaydop got gains, bro.
But like I think Chaussette could have been a good fit there. He's a little bit quieter maybe, but when he plays Rocket League like at his best, like he was the best on PSG at the World Championships, he can really step up and is a great team player as well. So I think those two might have been a slightly better fit, but like if they can mold Yukeo, he has the potential very similar to Prime Thunder, I think, where like he can pull up some incredible stuff. It's just a little inconsistent right now. So I want to see him gain some of that consistency. But the one thing I loved about Yukeo was like he put out a tweet longer of like, why did I join Dignitas? And I'm like, dude, you literally could just say, it's Dignitas. Yeah. Anyone is going to join Dignitas. Anyone is going to join Turbo and Violent Panda. Sure, Kaydop put up all the numbers, but he would have not even come close to those numbers if he didn't have Violent Panda plus Turbo setting them up for all those plays. And that leads me into my next question. Since we're talking a little bit about Yukeo, who will have more success, Leaf? Yukeo or Kaydop next season for the RLCS? Now, personal. Not necessarily who's going to place better, but personal success. So Kaydop could have the better season and might not even make the World Championship.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I think Kaydop's gonna actually have a great season just mentally for himself. I mean, like if he's where he wants to be right now, he's back with Fairy Peak. He's gonna enjoy his time there. I think Vitality had a couple other issues that isn't on Kaydop to fix. But so that's a whole other discussion. But being on a team with Fairy Peak, another Frenchman, on a French team, I think this is going to be good for him mentally. I think he's going to have a lot of fun. I think this is going to be a great season for him just as a person. Whether, as you said, they place well or not, I think as a person, it's going to be. But you could also say that same thing for Yukeo. Now he gets to play with Dignitas. This is going to be an incredible learning experience for him. He gets to play with two of the most consistent players Rocket League has ever seen. And that's going to add into his skill. Like, he's going to learn from that. And maybe that's going to be what Yukeo needs to get that consistency. Like this could be, we talk about Yukeo being and having those inconsistencies here and there. Sometimes he's not on. Other days he pops off. Maybe this is what he needs to level out. To straight up say who's going to have a better season, whether they place well or not, I think Yukeo has the most to gain from this, but I think Kaydop is going to have a hell of a good time.
All right. Like I like that answer.
I don't know if I can put. I don't think I can put one above.
Okay. Yeah, like I think Kaydop's not going to put up those offensive world records that he put up last year, just because he doesn't have Dignitas hooking him up with all these passes. Plus, like Scrub and Fairy, there's only one ball, and all three of those players want that ball. So Scrub and Fairy are going to take some of that away from Kaydop probably. So I think like Yukeo, according to stats, will probably have the better season. But I think if you ask me who's the better player still, I'd probably still say Kaydop, like after RLCS Season 7. So I think he'll be the better player. Yukeo will put up better stats because it's Dignitas, and they'll be setting him up a lot, and he'll get a lot more success there. Because I do think that Dignitas is still the better team until we see Fairy Peak play threes well again, which we really haven't seen in a good 6 months. Then I have to bank on Yukeo having the better season. But Kaydop is the better player still after Season 7, if that makes sense. Because I think Dignitas won't have the same success that they once did. But Yukeo will still put up some great numbers, and people will say, "Oh, he's the most improved player from Season 6 to Season 7." But that's because he joins Turbo and Violent Panda, who probably are the best support system you could possibly have on a team, like, on the field. So we'll have to see. But I think Yukeo, like, that consistency, like, with his shots has always been a little rough for me, but I think he'll fix a lot of that because of just the scoring chances are going to be better when playing with Dignitas. But we'll have to see. It will be fun to watch those two. Like, I can't wait to see that matchup. That's going to be pretty juicy.
That'll be fun.
The 3 matches, I guess, where we have, like, Dig versus Vitality, Vitality versus Flipside, and Flipside versus Dig. It should be a lot of fun to see those matches unfold. Next up, since we were talking a little bit about Mognus before, we'll go over to that one. Will Mognus land an RLCS gig? So right now, there's probably 2 spots open in the RLCS at this point. Seems like everything else is locking down, but there's Flipside, who's trying out Speed for the WSOE LAN. They also tried him out for DreamHack Qualifiers. DreamHack Qualifiers didn't go that well, but we'll see at the LAN. And then there is Red Reserve, who almost found out after Reddit that Speed was leaving them for Flipside. So they had to pull in Casio real quick, but they have some history with Casio before. Do you think Mognus lands one of those 2 spots or somewhere else in the RLCS before this Rostermania is over?
I think absolutely Mognus wants out of where he's at.
I don't. To be fair, they did just qualify for DreamHack as the top dog, so.
That's true. At the same time, though, I know that they're, are the live events that we have going to be enough for them? Like, is he going to be happy playing in the rival series? Is he going to want to be back in the RLCS? I mean, now at the same time, the rival series is getting more competitive.
Well, that's also a problem though, too, because then you might not be able to make it back to the RLCS.
That's true. But so it's like when it comes to like enjoying playing the game, I think it's not. Being in the rival series isn't as as saddening, I guess, as it was, right? Like there's definitely good gameplay to happen down there now. But I do think Mognus is a guy that deserves to be in the RLCS for sure. And I think that might outweigh, having the chances at DreamHacks and stuff to show himself. So I really think he's going to do his darndest to find a place on one of those teams. Now, I'd rather see him on reserve.
Okay, but the problem. Okay, so if Flipside, see, the problem is like I don't know if Flipside picks up Speed, then sure that there's a spot open and they have Cassia right now, but who knows? But if Flipside picks up Mognus, does Speed go back to Red Reserve? Who knows? Because that's gonna be a little awkward. Like, hey, trying out for Flipside. See you guys. Oh wait, can I come back? Like, it's gonna be a little awkward. So who knows?
At the same time, I really think these roster moves right now, I think, are showing the maturity of
for sure.
the scene. I think a lot of people are understanding this is your job. This is a business. It's not just playing. I mean, you're still playing Rocket League with your friends, but there is a business to this. You have to make the paycheck, right? So I think people understand that these moves aren't personal anymore. At least hopefully they do.
Well, you can talk to G2 about that. I don't know. CC would be a little upset because of the way sometimes like these things happen for sure. But I think they get over it rather quickly, at least.
Yeah, I think that's another issue. I do think the teams need to start being a bit more mature about how that you need to talk to your teammates. If you're looking for a new teammate, that shouldn't be looked down on. That should be like, okay, I know you're looking for a new teammate.
I'm going to step
me
up.
A chance. Yeah, it either gives me a chance to step up or also make sure that I have a fallback if you do go with someone else, right? People need to be aware that these moves are happening, especially if you're one of those moves, right? Like, so I think that's just, I think that now comes down to just the team management. I think teams need to take more control of that information flow. The manager, the coach, whoever it is, just needs to be on top of that and say, hey, this is on me, not the players. I need to make sure that I'm communicating this to all the players so they know what their options are, what's happening, and what they need to do going forward. But I think that'll come now that people are like, obviously Crow's upset. So I think people are going to want to try to avoid that in the future. So I think we'll see that more now. But I do think people are realizing, and again, he'll get over it. I do think people are realizing that this is a job. These moves are going to happen. And I'm hoping that, if Speed does go try out and have to come back, that isn't going to affect his teammates, because that'd be unfortunate to see that those players would, hold that against him or anything.
For sure.
You should.
Yeah. Like, I think it's just tough now because, like, for Mognus, I feel like with Flipside trying out speed, they obviously like speed. And they even said, hey, he's going to WSOE with us. And I always feel like Mognus, because, like, they signed up last second for the DreamHack qualifiers. That has to mean that Mognus was really close to some other spot somewhere, like, or Greasy maybe too. But it just seemed like Mognus was just edged out in every single way. Like, I do think Mognus will wind up on one of these teams, because I was also surprised with Mouse Sports how they picked up a lot so quickly, and I was like, well, Lot just had literally the worst season of his life last season, and probably the worst player like in the RLCS for at least one season. Obviously, that will change, but and they liked the grind and dedication, and maybe Mognus was not doing it as much in the offseason, maybe like kind of depressed about, making it down here. But I do think we'll see Mognus in the RLCS, and if not this season, probably next season. But I do think I could see him on the flip side, where Flipside's like, hey, man, like, I don't want to bring in like another young star. I want someone that's been there before to help out Cooks here. Because they've tried it before with Yukeo, and that took a full year to get him where they wanted to go. So maybe,
now he's gone.
now he's gone, which is a problem.
Well, that works out the window.
So supposedly they're trying to like match the same playstyle that Yukeo had, so they don't have to change too much. But honestly, I think it's like, just take your chance with Mognus. He's been there before. He's had more success than Cooks here, basically, like, over the past 2 years. Like, Cooks here really hasn't done a whole lot. So maybe you bring in like another leader, and then it's 3 veterans, and they shouldn't play reasonably well. Now, maybe playstyles clash, but I think you can get around that. So I think Mognus might land on Flipside. The problem is with DreamHack, now that Complexity made it, that opens up more time where Mognus can't really play with anyone else because he's got to worry about DreamHack. So, but it could be the best trial period he'll ever have, because if he shows up, teams are going to be like, we want Mognus. So who knows? Because there'll probably be at least another month before roster lock for the RLCS.
I mean, I don't think it'd be a bad team, but there's something that just feels off. And I think, it's just like, I just feel like there might be a clash of play style.
Sure, for sure. Yeah.
And for some reason, it's just like, in my mind, just Mognus on Flipside just isn't connecting for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is. I think it's just straight up that. Now, of course, you're right. He's got the experience, and Mognus can probably adapt and work around it. Same with Cucks and Mystic. But I don't know. I just
I feel it.
I'd have to say red.
Like, it's tough because, so speaking of Red Reserve, this goes into my next question. Is it the right move for the promoted teams to make 0 moves? So the only team right now that's sort of making a move is Red Reserve, because they had to, because Speed's trying out for Flipside. But none of the other promoted teams, that's Splice, Spread, and Savage, have made a roster move. Do you think that is good for them or bad for them?
That's a really good question, actually, because it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, but
right? Like, it worked, but you're right. Now with all these roster moves, all the teams are like, the talent it's not top heavy anymore. It's dispersing, right? You're not going to have those same play styles to play. You're not playing against the same teams anymore.
Yeah.
Right. What you did before as a team to get you into the RLCS might not work anymore, because those are different teams, right? They're going to play differently. And all the teams' skill level kind of just, it leveled out. Everybody's kind of like up a bit more now, right? So I want to go and say, I mean, like, consider this. There are a lot of events, and there are a lot of chances in the future now to make moves. And I think, I don't know. I think right now I think it's okay. I think it's the smart thing is, you got something that worked, stick with it. And if that still doesn't work over the next season, then you make some changes. Because I think there's something to be said about teams sticking together. We've seen that happen with quite a few rosters, and they do really good, Yeah. I mean, G2 stayed
to be fair, when a roster tries to stay together and does poorly, they usually make a roster move. So it's it's kind of weighted towards, the ones that stay together do well, because everyone else makes roster moves that are doing bad. So I think it's a little bit weighted, but yeah.
That's true. I don't know. I don't see an issue with making the decision to stay the same. I think it like there's arguments for both. Like, okay, these teams are adapting. We have to adapt as well. We have to make sure that we are the best suited for all these new rosters and all these new teams. But I think it's also like, hey, we don't have to rework on synergy. We're going to come out swinging in the first few weeks of league play, because all the other teams are trying to figure it out, but we already know what we're doing. Yeah. So I think there's something to be said for both decisions.
So for me, 1000%, and this is only with my heart, you do not make a roster move if you're promoted, because I feel so terrible. Like, if a player, like, his whole life goal for RLCS, at least, like, his career goal is to make RLCS. That's his entire career. And then if you're like, hey, thanks for making it, now we're going to kick you. And now you're not in the RLCS. Luckily, last season with Mummy Snow, who made it in, he got to an RLCS team. So if they go to a different RLCS team, sure. If you want to make a move, go for it. But with my heart, like, I don't want these teams to make moves, because I want these guys to enjoy at least a season in the RLCS, to at least give it a shot, because they made it here. They worked so hard for it. Now with my head, with all these other roster moves where it's like, oh crap, everyone's improving, it seems like, you know, like, at least on paper, it seems like every team in North America has improved, basically. So it's a little bit tough, but then again, Bread's playing really well in qualifiers. Splice, not so much, but the one thing I would love to see, and this is probably a cop-out a bit, is Psyonix to move the promotion tournament to the start of the next season, where they can make a roster move before the promotion tournament. And that's locked in for that season no matter what happens. So you do the promotion tournament the week before we find out what rival series teams make it in, so the play-ins or whatever. And you have your bottom two and your top two. They can make the roster moves, but that locks them in for the season, so they have to play in the rival series with that team if they get demoted, or the RLCS. And then you get the very best teams, like, into the RLCS, because based on their roster moves, we'll now have the best teams. Because, say, for Rogues, say they look godlike now, and if only they could have got rid of Sizz before for Chrome, now I'm not saying, like, oh, this is necessarily true, then they could have been an RLCS team still. And I think that might be the better way to do it, because it does just feel terrible to me that if a team puts in all that work and then makes it to the RLCS, to just get kicked off his team, just feels terrible. Now, you could say the same thing, obviously, for they made it to the promotion tournament and then get kicked, but I think it's a little bit easier to say for that than versus the promotion tournament. And I think it would be a good way to begin a season, like a hype, very important bracket to begin. But that's just me.
That interesting. I don't know if I'm like for it, but I'm not against it.
Right. It's tough. It's tough for sure.
Yeah, maybe I'd see it in action once and be like, no.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is this? This wasn't the team that just played in the rival series. This is bullshit. How did they get Kaydop on this team? I don't understand this. They were just in the rival series. Makes no sense.
That would be interesting, because some teams would really, really push then for some good moves, because they're like, we got to make sure we stay out of the rival series.
Yeah,
let's get a good person on, but it also makes it scarier for that,
for that person to be picked up.
Well, it makes it even scarier for our players going to want to move.
Yeah, so that's the problem, I think, is where you come down to those bottom four, where, like, the bottom two teams are at a major disadvantage now for, like, roster, like, acquisitions going into the next season. So there is that negative, but I think that's also negative because you're a bottom two team. So I think that kind of plays, but for sure, because no player like a Mognus, like, if he's going to get picked up by a top 6 team, or you're going to play in the promotion tournament, like, I'm definitely going to the top 6 team to guarantee my spot. But I think we'll have a little bit more flexibility and more roster moves if the promotion was beforehand, because all 4 teams are going to try and pick up the very best. And I think that'd be kind of like interesting to see. But
I also just don't. Of course they would try to be interested, but I don't know if we'd see any moves, because, like, I just don't know why any players would want to.
Well, like, maybe the best players from the rival series, like the Chicago, like, if they're not in the promotion tournament back then when he was in the rival series, he could move up, or something, or Casio, So we could have seen something like that, but like, I think it's tough. It would be really juicy if, like, they switched. So a player that was in the rival series, he's in the promotion tournament, gets picked up by the RLCS team that's in the promotion tournament, and then they rematch. That would be pretty juicy, Leaf. Be pretty good.
That's an interesting theory. Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? Like, it's tough. Like, I personally, though, like, I do like that most of these teams aren't making too many moves, and it seems like if they do, the other player is staying in the RLCS, because that would just feel terrible for that player to just achieve that and then get it just thrown back in your face and, like, nope, you have to start all over. Pick up a new team or go back to the rival series. That would hurt. That would hurt for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting. Roster moves are...
Yeah, they're weird.
So many different scenarios.
All right, next question.
Let's get it.
Okay. Will Chrome join a rival series team at the least, or an RLCS team? It looks like we're kind of getting close to lockdown for North America. For the RLCS, maybe a Ghost or something like that. But do you think he'll at least join one of those top 4 from the rival series before all is said and done?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like I still think Chrome, Chrome is one of those like, not specifically like a gatekeeper player. Like he's not one of the top players,
Hmm.
and like it's left to beg. Will he ever win an RLCS? But I do think he belongs in the RLCS. Like I think he's an incredibly solid, well-rounded player.
Yeah.
I'm thinking right now like he could be put on like a 5-6 team, and so I think like.
So you think he'll have to requalify for the rival
I
series?
think I don't know. I think at minimum he should be on a top 4 rival series team. Like
Okay.
I don't see why anyone would say no to picking him up.
Yeah.
To be honest, like and he's proving it, right? Like he any teams he's with, he's making things happen. So I think he's proven it time and time again. Like that he belongs in the RLCS and at minimum top 4. I think it'd be weird for a team not to pick him up.
Okay.
In all honesty.
So that's also going off of the qualifiers. He obviously played with 4 different teammates, so he had 2 brand new teams. Played with Perfect Storm, that was Jacob and Juro, and they came in 3rd for the WSOE, so just missed out on going to that LAN. And then DreamHack came in 4th with Atomic and First Killer, which I think are still both underage for the RLCS, if I'm not mistaken.
First Killer might be.
Yeah, First Killer
okay
might
now.
be not. I don't know if he's 15 or not yet, but I know that Atomic is too young. Pretty sure.
Is Atomic too young?
I think
Atomic's
so. I could be
Montreal.
wrong. Huh?
Is Atomic's from Montreal, right?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. But I'm pretty sure they're both too young, or First Killer might have just reached his age to play in it. I'm not positive.
Well, either way, that wouldn't work then.
Exactly. So, because what happened was he signed up with them before they knew about the WSOE, so Chrome wanted to play with them for DreamHack. But I do think, I honestly think that Chrome will get picked up by Jacob and Juro because they had such a good run. Jacob and Juro didn't do terrible with Gyro either, but they placed worse. They placed 9th through 12th. But I do think that spot is Chrome's, I think. So I think he will join Jacob and Juro, and I think he'll be in contention for another promotion tournament here where he'll be battling out. Because I think that's a really solid team, and they really impressed me for the WSOE qualifiers, for sure.
Yeah, I don't. Regardless of what happens, Chrome will be at minimum in the rival series.
Yeah.
This next.
So it's gonna be weird because it's gonna be the old energy coach and the old energy player joining up together, and also Chrome. He knocked out Rogue in both tournaments too. In both of them, he knocked out Rogue as well. So. So of course Rogue is now FlyQuest. We're gonna repeat this again.
Yes.
And, but he knocked him out in both tournaments. So he's definitely playing well, and I think he'll get that spot with Jacob and Juro. That's what I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they're already playing well and they already got that synergy, why not? Like, who else are you gonna put in that spot?
Yeah. Who knows?
Well,
there's a lot of good players, obviously from the Peeps and stuff, with Gyro and with Arsenal. But I think it's gonna be all right, whoever doesn't make it to Ghost, I think Jacob and Juro will probably have probably dibs on those players. So I think those players will want to play with them. I assume, but I don't know, because Chrome is obviously really friendly with Jacob, and I would assume Joro as well. So who knows? Because that synergy should be there. Okay, 2 more questions, Leaf, and I'll get you out of here. This is longer than expected, but that's how these things work. Fun. That's how it always works. All right.
I like this.
Which team that hasn't made a roster move should have made a roster move?
Which team that didn't make a roster move
should have made one?
Okay, so that leaves us 2 teams or something, right?
So that would be no, not necessarily. There's Energy, there's Cloud9, there's Bread and Splice from NA, and then in Europe there is TSM.
We're just talking RLCS teams?
Yes, not rival series teams. Let's see, there's TSM. Now I'm blanking on the other ones. I guess a lot of people in Europe are moving. Oh, PSG.
Yeah.
And PSG Savage and Red Reserve, sort of, because we don't know yet. So out of those teams, who do you think should have made a move?
That's a weird. I mean,
now
before any recent things, I think.
Yeah, the least likely or the most likely that you think should have made a move, even if you think they all shouldn't have made a move. Who would you put up? I think this team would have made the roster move.
Sorry, I'm totally forgetting. Savage.
Savage is Bluey, Devo, and Alpha.
Yeah, they're in RLCS, right?
Yes, they are. They are.
Yeah, okay. I'm all rival teams made it up, right?
Yeah.
Uh, it's been so long. I would say it's hard because they made it in, but like I and you also said like, you know, these rival teams making it up, but like these guys are experienced. They're not just rival players. Like Devo and Blue have been there before. I would have said maybe Savage would have been one of the teams that I was to make a move. Like
who would you replace though?
I mean, like it's tough because like I feel like Bluey has a lot of potential, but I feel like he's kind of capped, and I feel like Devo's working at it again, but Devo has been so iffy for me for so long that like I feel
like based on the grind and stuff. Yeah.
Like what if that happens again? Like what if Devo's like, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna go play other games and not put the time in again. And now
that's my big question with Savage is if they go on a losing streak to start RLCS, then there's two big problems there where Bluey, you know, he's been toxic before, could happen again. Devo could also just lose the will to fight at all. So, like, if they go on a losing streak, that could be rough for them.
That's what I'm saying. Is like those are the two. It's funny that I say, okay, the two most experienced players, those are the ones I want off. It's weird, but like, they both have problems, and it's like, would it be Bluey or would it be Devo? I mean, like, both have high. I think Alpha stays. I mean, Alpha
I think he's like one of those like upcoming stars.
Yeah,
because he's been playing incredible.
I like Alpha on the team.
Like I kind of like Savage personally, just because they're like, it's a band of rejects almost in a way, except for Alpha, obviously, where they're like, we fucked up in the past, but like we know we fucked up, and now we're like, that's it. Let's make our run back, and they did easily, pretty much. And now let's show these teams that like maybe we deserved more credit than we got, and sure, we're little punk kids half the time, but like I think there'll be enough there, like enough drive, and I think they all kind of share that common goal. That I don't know if Savage would be my pick personally. Honestly, I thought Energy might make a move this offseason. I feel like last season was very shaky for them. They obviously wound up doing really well towards the end, but it's like it's tough because like at the World Championship they didn't have a good run. Then E-League they finally showed up again. What happens if E-League goes just slightly differently and they don't place top 4? I could easily see Energy making a move at that point. But because they placed top 4, just because of one tournament, because of one match versus Cloud9, they don't make a move, and that's what I'm going to assume here a little bit. But I do think they would have probably made a move if they placed worse than top 4 at E-League. Maybe then that's when Garrett G would have left, because there was talks that G2 was trying to get Garrett G. So I think there is some questions there of Energy. Like maybe they're like, you know, I don't know, I'm just not feeling it anymore, and I want to make a move. And also Energy every winter makes a roster move. They kicked Jacob, they picked up Justin, they kicked Sad Jr., they picked up Jacob. Both times happened at the end of a year, so I thought they might have made a move. Now I'm not sure exactly which way that would have happened, like Garrett G might have left, or do you kick Fireburner, or who knows with Justin as well, because I feel like who knows, but the problem is who do you get, I think is the problem for Energy. Like right now they're so talented, that team, that you have to get an amazing talent like a Chicago. Maybe they could have been like in the bids with G2 to pick up Chicago. So who knows? But I think they could have made a move, possibly.
Now that's what you said. I don't want to ask you. I'm asking you a question again. You said they could have made a move, but I want to know: do you think they should have made a move? Because I don't think so. Yeah, sure, they had the potential and there was a chance.
Yeah. I think it's tough. Like I think Garrett to G2 would have been a mistake. Like I do think Garrett is probably better off at Energy and trying to like mold that team some more. Yeah. I think the question is Fireburner, because when Fireburner's on, that's when Energy looks great. But I feel like Fireburner's been very inconsistent this past season, and it could have been time to try and find a replacement for him. If they would have got Chicago, and Garrett, Justin, and Chicago, I think that's a team that is right up there with Cloud9, possibly beating Cloud9 at that point.
Is that too much firepower though?
It's possible, but that's the same question with G2, right? Is that too much firepower there? We'll have to see. Yeah. But I think like Garrett G has been known to play that third man. He's had to change his playstyle so much in Energy that he could have done it again and let Justin Chicago maybe move up field more and just been super dynamic up there. And then Garrett G like is that new cleanup man. And I think that's a huge upgrade for a cleanup man to have Garrett G over Fireburner. But then, of course, you lose Garrett G like up front where he's pulling off some incredible stuff. So maybe if they could have got like a Chicago, but I don't think anyone else. Like I think it's tough. Like I think if they had a chance at Drip A, I think I would have rather stayed with Fireburner personally. Just because of the unknown with Drip A, like moving over and who knows. Because, like, sure, he's the top talent when he plays in OCE, but we still don't know for sure. Like, I think I would have stayed with Fireburn just because of that. But
can you do it here?
Yeah, like, it just depends who they could have got. Maybe they could have poached someone from G2. Maybe they could have poached JNABs. Maybe JNABs instead of Fireburn maybe works. I don't know. But I think that could have been a possible move. Could have been. I'm not saying it should have been. It could have.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
It's tough.
I think there's something to try and at least one more time.
Yeah. Like, I could see that for sure. All right. Last question, Leaf, and we're going to end on this one. First, who's going to win WSOE, and then who is going to win DreamHack?
Okay, let me, because everything's locked in here. Let me, Cloud9. Right. Everything Cloud9.
Gonna win both?
Yeah.
You think Cloud's gonna go back to back?
Let me go to my tournaments here. Okay. There's so many tournaments now. Which one? That's Leipzig, right?
And you could say that Cloud9's gonna win one of them, and then someone's gonna win another if you want. Like, you don't have to specify if you don't want to.
All right, participants. Okay, so for WSOE.
Mm-hmm. Now, the format for WSOE, if you don't know, it's group play. So groups of 5. They play round robin. Top 3 from each group advances, which means the winner from each group, they'll get a bye in the single elim bracket. So there'll be a 6-team bracket. And so if that kind of changes your opinion based on momentum that we've seen in Rocket League, where if a team doesn't play yet, and then they have to play someone that won, sometimes if those teams have small advantage, that could change your opinion a little bit. I'm just letting you know how it's working.
I'm just gonna go off without the brackets, like the format. You're all about your brackets.
Of course, man. Come on. Hey, I made this one too.
I really think we're gonna see, well, TSM and Cloud9, honestly, because their teams, they're both coming off highs, and I don't see any real like dips. Now we obviously haven't seen them in a while, but
yeah, that's like the really hard part I think right now is we just haven't seen them.
They're not getting practice, but at the same time, no one's getting practice against scrims in that.
Yeah, they're obviously doing scrims,
but you know, I
no high pressure practice, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think we're gonna see either one of those two in the finals, if not both. And obviously, last time we saw it, TSM has C9's number, but you know, C9's got to be studying the tapes and learn that. I don't know. If I just had to throw it out there, TSM.
On both?
No, not on both.
Okay, WSOE. so just WSOE. Okay, and then DreamHack, which is like a wild card because we don't know necessarily who's showing up, but very likely all the big orgs are going to show up for that.
Yeah.
And that ends with a single elim bracket again with top 8, I think. So.
Yeah. So, and how far apart are these? They're like 2 weeks apart. 2 weeks apart, yeah. So it's like it's not enough time for like the other teams to really get their act together either.
Like it just comes down to like, all right, like the really good teams have a 75-25 chance to win these series, but will they get upset? You know, because it's both single elimination brackets, which I think is a little harder for the best teams to win. But
I want TSM to win because I want to see like kind of that new kind of king at the top, but at the same time. I'm so 50-50 on C9 and TSM right now. Ghost Gaming wins.
Okay. All right. Hey, all right. That works. So DreamHack, Ghost wins. There you go. You heard it here first. Leaf calling it like he sees it. All right. So WSOE, with my brackets, like so I think like the group winners might not necessarily have that huge advantage, you know, because obviously they have that bye, which is great, but it's also hurts because you have to play the winning team, obviously coming out of it. I think that could hurt some of these teams. I think for that reason, we might see TSM win. I think TSM and Dignitas are going to wind up in the same group, and Dignitas is going to keep their European streak alive of just beating every European team since last April.
Okay.
And Dignitas is going to win the group, which will be a little bit of a surprise, I think, with Yukeo coming in over TSM. Yeah. Now, again, we don't know these groups. Who knows? But I'm just going to assume that they're in the same group, just for the fun of it. TSM comes out as a 2 seed. They run shop up the other side of the bracket where they probably have to play Cloud9 in the semis, and then they take the win in the finals over Dignitas. Why not? Just for fun. A whole European final. Everyone's going to love me for that. So TSM's going to win WSOE. DreamHack. That one's really tough.
Yeah.
That's really tough. Because, again, it's like top 8 And it's just because like last time we saw PSG win, which like no one expected. And that was over G2, which I guess you could expect a little bit G2 to be there, but you expected Dig to be there.
So
I'm going to go. All right.
WSOE.
So you're going Ghost. I'm going Bread, baby. Bread's going to take DreamHack.
Right.
Bread is playing out of their minds. They're going to come in as a low seed in that top 8, I think. Like they'll squeak out and just barely make it. And it'll still be a little bit of a surprise. Then they're going to pull up some upsets, man. And they're going to make a run. Bread's going to win DreamHack. Why not for the fun of it?
I love it. Either way, we got some Canadian boys winning here from our predictions.
There you go. Oh, man. But
Bread Ghost in the finals.
Okay, Bread Ghost and TSM Dig in the other final.
Yeah.
There we go. Complete opposites. Yeah, right? Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen? It's going to be a lot of fun to watch these 2 tournaments. So it's actually 3 weekends apart, but 2 weekends off and then the 3rd weekend.
Yeah.
But should be a lot of fun to see exactly what happens. And again, like
A lot of Rocket League.
we're still in that roster tryout phase. Like if Ghost wins, all right, then Illusion, you're the 3rd, right? At that point, you can't not, like if you win a major probably. But I think like he's still in a trial period, right? So even at DreamHack, it's going to be a trial period where we're going to see all these players and see if some other names that maybe aren't playing on those top teams make a name for themselves. Like Mognus, he can make a name for himself where it's like he pulls off the greatest tournament of his life. They lose in the semis, but everyone's like, shit, we need to pick up Mognus now. So there could be things like that happening. It's going to be very interesting. And so we don't know when the RLCS season starts, but my guesstimate that I've been saying on stream is like you have to wait at least a month after DreamHack Leipzig because you have to do all those qualifiers. So if they're still doing that same format with all the qualifiers, it's at least a month out after that. So probably like late March at the earliest. So who knows? Like that's a lot of wiggle room to make those rosters change a little bit, depending on roster lock. But Leaf, thank you for joining me.
Gibbs,
and
thank you for having me.
Yes, and never, ever again ask me a question. Ever again.
I will never
son
ask
of a
you
bitch. This was my show. I'm the host, Leaf. God damn it.
I am the captain now.
Yes. But thank you, Leaf. This was longer than expected. That's how these things work. Leaf is the best. Go follow him on Twitter, on Twitch. He streams sometimes. Sometimes it's like Guitar Hero. Definitely go watch those streams. Definitely. Yeah, because he just rocks out.
I love Guitar
with
Hero.
his blocks out. All right. Anyway, that's it for us. Thank you, Leaf, once again. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.